Yo, what is up guys, it's Chillfeed here, and just as I thought Gearbox would be done for a while with buffing weapons after they released the LOB and Tentacles DLC last week, they just released another hotfix today with some more absolutely amazing buffs for weapons that desperately needed it, and also a nerf to the godly LOB shotgun, or is it really a nerf? Let's find out in this video, where I will go over my experience of all the buffed weapons, and then we'll also take a look at the HYPERION weapon shields at the end of the video and see if the increased damage absorption they received is actually noticeable. Before we get started though, please don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this or found it helpful. You will also see a lot more content like this from me in the future, so you might as well subscribe to my channel. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. I already made a video about the good Juju about like a week ago and how I thought this weapon was one of the most underrated weapons in the entire game even before the buff, and now the weapon looks even better on paper at least. The special effect of this weapon is not only to instantly reload your magazine after a kill, but it will also get an increased critical hit damage bonus of 20% for every non-critical hit you land. This is the effect that now got buffed, and the way Gearbox describes the buff makes it sound like you can potentially get up to 500% critical hit damage bonus after you land 25 body shots and never actually manually reload. To me though, it just never really feels like that much of an insane damage buff, and it's also kinda impossible at least to test this on the dummy on Sanctuary, since manually reloading in the good Juju's case means basically whenever you can kill an enemy before your magazine is empty. Once your magazine empties without killing anyone, your stacks will reset to 0, and the minus 50% critical hit damage bonus from the weapon itself is back again. So I would say the weapon can still be absolutely great for mobbing, and even against some bosses maybe, if you can keep your stacks high enough until you reach that boss and then have an easy crit spot to hit. But the downtime in between bursts, the fact that you have to rely on bigger magazines sometimes, and the way you can only obtain this weapon from the Rampager on Mayhem Mode 4 are huge factors that hold this weapon back in my opinion. I still love the weapon, especially for the reference to Destiny 2, so whether we wanted it or not, we stepped into a war with the Cabal on Mars, so let's go take.
That was all me.
The only thing I don't like about the Moonfire is this stupid and inaccurate iron sight attached to it. But now I think it's easier for me to get used to this iron sight with the amazing weapon damage and critical hit damage increases. If you combine the ability of this torque pistol to buff every third shot, an OM shield, the normal fade away from flag and your overkill guardian rank perk, you can consistently get over 1 million damage with an unanointed version of this thing, which makes it absolutely amazing against mob enemies, making it feel almost as powerful as a sniper rifle and definitely as powerful as something with a name and reference like that. If only Gearbox would now give us a version with a different sight on it, I would love the Moonfire even more than I do right now. If you want to get one for yourself, it's technically a world drop with a higher chance to drop from Voten the Invincible, but I have never actually seen it drop from anywhere else other than Voten, so I think you should definitely try and get one from the Takedown. And since this is another reference to Destiny and the Hawk Moon, whether we wanted it or not, we've stepped into a war with the Cabal on Mars, so let's go take.
Against the rocks.
A weapon that was literally supposed to fire meteors at your enemies from the sky never really did its job when you were indoors while using this weapon when it was first introduced and nobody used it. The Tiggs Boom now might actually be one of the best and most fun weapons to use. The weapon got fixed almost 2 months ago so that you could use it indoors, and now it even received a nice weapon damage buff and a damage buff to the meteors that fall from the sky. Unfortunately for me, I seem to have a version of it where the chance to spawn those meteors were pretty low, and I've seen others with a lot more meteors falling on your enemies' heads, but nevertheless, it's just so much fun to look at and use, and the damage is now actually appropriate to something someone like Madara or Chia would use. When you farm Voten for the shotgun as well, since he is the only one who can drop it, be aware of it benefiting entirely from splash damage, and also the fact that ricochet abilities like Amaro's Indiscriminate can actually spawn more meteors to other enemies you're not directly shooting at. But also beware of the meteors themselves, because they can definitely do a lot of damage to yourself and kill you if you're not careful enough. From being the worst weapon in the entire game to being arguably the best weapon in the entire game, and now Gearbox finally quote unquote nerfed the LOB just to make it actually better than it was before. At least that's in my opinion, because now you just keep the increased magazine size and damage bonus from the last hotfix and just add the ability to not waste 3 shots every time you shoot, with even a faster fire rate, which I believe makes it even possible to spam more projectiles per second with now just more freedom while using it. Absolutely loving the nerf. It feels even better than before, so go get to farm Graverod right now if you for some reason don't have this monster of a weapon yet.
I am the greatest.
Well, you'll be damned if you're not using this AK-74U looking like blood of assault rifle with a proper golden skin on it now, because the damned now might possibly be one of the best assault rifles in the game with the damage buff. I will say though that I did have a version of it with 100% bonus damage on action skill end, but it was shredding mob enemies even without the effect proccing. It will definitely not be a weapon that you can use against bosses, and will definitely not be a build defining assault rifle for sure, but it is now more than just a decent and fun option to use for any mobbing situation. And when it does drop with a higher chance from the Agonizer 9000 or from anywhere else as a world drop, it will always drop with a Hyperion shield, and they also got buffed and might be pretty good now, right? Well, to be honest, whenever I was using Hyperion SMGs before, I never really aimed down sights anyway, and therefore never really noticed the weapon shield. But now after they got the amount of damage they absorb increased, I went into the slaughter shaft with an old Ridian SMG and an old guard shield from the new DLC, and just stood there to take some damage and see how long it will take my enemies to get me down with max health, Amara and everything, and it did not take too long to see my weapon shield break and Amara go down. So I would say it's nice to have the ability to take a few extra hits, but I don't think this will be anything noticeable anyway. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the Hyperion shields and for this video. Like I said, please don't forget to leave a like or subscribe to my channel. Maybe even join my Discord server from the link down below in the description or my pinned comment. There are a bunch of amazing people in there who share builds, who share amazing legendaries and everything you could want for. Or maybe you can find some friends there to play Borderlands or other games with. And with that being said, thanks for watching, and I see you in my next video.